What's up, guys? Welcome to the Saturday show. Now, on Saturdays, I like to go back through the week of Newswave to see what you guys had to say down in the comments based on the different topics for that day. Now, generally, there's also a good way to kind of get caught up if you missed a topic. I'll usually go over some of the big topics, then we'll go into some of the comments. But either way, it's a lot of fun. If you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to like button. It does help out. We're actually going to start today with a little bit of news. Now, this comes way of Sega Fest. Now, it's an event going on right now, and basically Sega is announcing a bunch of stuff for, well, Sega. And last night they had a stream with the big highlight being the Sega Mini, or the Mega Drive Mini. Remember how we saw that last Sega Fest and they said that At Games was going to be developing it, creating it and everything, and a lot of us said, oh man, they're having At Games do it? And then we found out they were delaying it and they would actually be removing At Games from it. So they'd kind of, I guess, break the partnership, whatever they had with them, and kind of go forward by themselves. Well, they did reveal it, and it's coming out this year, which is amazing. It's coming out September 19th, and they even started talking about some games that are coming with it. It's going to have 40 games. They gave us a slide, as you're seeing here, that has, I guess, just a sample of them, maybe some of the bigger ones. There's still a lot to reveal if they're going to be doing 40 of them, but they have a few there, as you're kind of seeing. They have Sonic 2, Puyo Puyo 2, Shining Force, Castlevania Bloodlines, Powerball, Gunstar Heroes, Comic Zone, Rent-A-Hero, Space Harrier 2. It looks like they have some pretty good ones there. I saw Gunstar Hero, by the way, Heroes, and I really like that game. I think that's a great one to add to it. Of course, a lot of people are probably excited about Vampire Killer, or in that case, Castlevania Bloodlines, then Shining Force. There's a lot of stuff to like from what they're showing now. They gave us a price of, after converted with one controller, to be about $70, which, yeah, that's about right. I mean, that's like where the Super Nintendo Classic and Nintendo Classic would sit in there. So we still need to find out pricing with versions outside of Japan with like the Sega Genesis Mini. But man, I'm liking it. Look, I know we've had several of these Genesis flashback systems, but we always had like At Games or some third-party company that's not very good at emulation or making these things work or be quality. What they showed looked pretty good. It looked high quality. So I'm looking forward to it. We have to, of course, see if Sega can actually get the emulation right on this, and I'm looking forward to it. And we don't have to wait terribly long, like, what, 6 months or so, and should be a good, I think it'll actually do pretty well for them for the holidays, right? Like the NES Classic does well for Nintendo. Obviously, Super Nintendo Classic did well this last holiday, as they're pretty much done with those apparently now. So I do think the Sega Genesis Mini will do well at that price point as a holiday gift. It also has a cartridge slot on the top from what they were showing, so I assume that means that you'll be able to play cartridges, and it has save states, so a lot to like there. But of course, we'll get it here, we'll take it apart, and we'll see what we're working with when it comes out. And starting the week off on Monday, we talked about Persona 5 The Royal, that has now introduced a female character who could be playable as part of the new game, and that seems to explain a previous Smash Bros. Data mine that found a ponytail file linked to Joker. Kirasu says the Scott Pilgrim game is the biggest and best argument against going fully digital. So, if you don't know, Scott Pilgrim's had some issues. We've talked about it here several times in the past on this channel. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game is an awesome action beat-em-up game that you play with friends, but it was delisted after there were some issues with like rights and everything. There's all kinds of companies in there that are, somebody's causing the issue. PT is another one. I know it's a demo, but the fact that what happened between Konami and Kojima, and that got ripped down. Digital has some serious issues that we can't ignore. That's the biggest thing. If, like, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game was a physical disc for the 360, for example, or the PS3, well, it'd be hard to find. It'd probably be kind of expensive, but you could get it. The only way to get it now is for people to do things like hack their systems and download it and load it up that way. Or if you've already owned it, you can still, I believe, download it, but if you tell somebody about it now, they can't do much. They don't have options, really. And according to the creator of the game, they're still fighting to get this thing back. Will they ever do it? It's hard to say. Again, when you get tied up in movie rights and all this stuff, it can be kind of dicey. Tuesday went over the PlayStation State of Play event that introduced a bunch of new VR titles and shed some light on new characters for Mortal Kombat 11. Overall, people seem disappointed in Sony's Nintendo Direct-like presentation, but this certainly won't be the last one from Sony. Apple also introduced their own game subscription service called Apple Arcade. Brood says, can't wait for McDonald's to get into game streaming. Look, I know this is a joke, what you just said there, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised. At this point, we talked about Walmart getting into game streaming. I mean, you might be surprised the companies that could come forward and try to do this. Basically, any company that has some sort of financial backing or the ability to invest in something, they might invest in game streaming. It sounds crazy, right, to hear about something like a McDonald's game streaming service. By the way, I don't think they'd say McDonald's. Like, they'd name it something else. They'd use a different brand that they'd probably make up. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Seriously, we've heard rumors that several companies that you wouldn't even expect to get into it are looking to get into game streaming because Google Stadia makes it look so easy and so amazing, but a lot of the core gamers understand that streaming isn't the best experience. No, they are targeting the casual audience with cell phones. Cell phones is probably the biggest way to do it. I mean, several companies have already made their own mobile games just because there's money there. So yeah, McDonald's as a game streaming company sounds crazy right now, but who knows, in 10 years we might be like, yo, did you get that new game, that new Call of Duty on the McDonald's streaming service? You never know. Wednesday, the rumors around the Nintendo Switch console revision started to pick up with Eurogamer now backing the recent report from the Wall Street Journal saying that 2 new Switch systems will be released seemingly this year. We also saw EA lay off 350 people, citing lower than expected performance from recent releases. Christoph86 says, EA have no one to blame but the higher-ups who are making such poor decisions. Loot boxes, staggered releases, poor PR, if you don't like it, don't buy it, and an over-reliance on live services have left the company's reputation in the gutter. Remember when Mr. Iwata plus others cut his pay in half rather than lay off employees? Remember he was quoted along the line of not wanting to affect the work quality of Nintendo staff by basically punishing them for poor business decisions? EA obviously didn't get the memo, so that's actually kind of, I guess that's common with US based businesses where it's with Japan, it's kind of a cultural thing there. Like Iwata, for example, along with Miyamoto and a lot of higher-ups took pay cuts when they had issues with the Wii U. They had issues with the 3DS. It wasn't the best time around Nintendo. And rather than lay people off, they decided to just cut their own pay to make it work and apologize and everything. And they did it twice. I know Iwata cut his pay twice. Once because of the Wii U and once because of the 3DS pricing issue. That when it first came out, it didn't do well. They had to cut the price there. So to do that, he cut his own salary again. So he's done that a few times, and unfortunately, places like EA, if they don't do well, they don't cut their salary. They're not doing that. No one's getting their salary cut. It's, upper management. They're just going to let some people go, and that's just the way it's been. And unfortunately, to be honest, most of the people that got let go probably didn't do anything wrong. They probably did the job they were assigned to do, and it was decisions above them that they might not have even agreed with that got them laid off. It's really crazy to think about it that way, right? And especially when you see it done so differently at places like Nintendo, it is a shame. But EA, here's the thing about EA. They have to learn eventually, right? They have to learn that whatever they're doing now is not working. Whether it is the poor PR, which I think is one of the worst things around them right now, by the way, next to their loot box and their crazy, obsessive nature around loot boxes and microtransactions, they're stuck. There's a roof that they're running into right now when it comes to these live services and microtransactions, and how much more money can you get from people, right? When there are 20 live services on the market, people's free time, for one, is split up at that time, and then they only have so much money to spend, and EA is running out of money to get from consumers, and they're running into that tipping point right now, so I don't think it's going to get much better unless they decide to actually tell investors that is happening. Fly said, if they drop the dockability from the cheaper version, they can call the new revisions the No Switch and the Mo Switch. I like that comment just because the Mo Switch thing there. So that is an interesting thing to think about here, right? The big thing around the Switch and the whole reason its name exists and the marketability and everything is because it essentially switches from a handheld to a home console. It's a hybrid. So if you take away the ability to dock the light version, the cheaper version, this is what Eurogamer put out there. What do you call it? Do you still call it the Switch just because, well, that's the brand name, that's what we're sticking with? Or do you change it somewhat? I mean, technically, the 3DS changed to the 2DS when that stopped doing 3D. So what do you change that to? Did you call it the Switch Go? I don't know, because if you keep calling it Switch, people are going to think that it switches when it doesn't. That's the issue you're running into now, is what do we call this thing? What does Nintendo call the thing? Now, Nintendo's confused people before, obviously, with the Wii U, so hopefully they've learned from that and they don't do something really weird here with the title of this. And that is, of course, if that is true, but they want to make this thing cheap. I think they have a target of $199, so just under $200, and I honestly think it's going to look kind of like a Vita. So would it fit in the current dock if the screen shrinks a bit and those analog sticks and stuff get in the way? That's kind of the question. Thursday, we saw Wolfenstein Youngbloodz announced for all platforms, including the Switch, coming at the end of July, with panic button handling the Switch port. We also saw Sekiro smash Japanese sales charts, taking the top spot comfortably after only a few days on the market. D-Dub says, yes, I'm letting you know I'll be getting both Wolfenstein and Fire Emblem, but you don't care nor read the comments, so it's funny you would bother saying you'll have to let me know if you're getting one or the other, or maybe both. Well, this is awkward, obviously, because I'm reading the comment when he said I wouldn't. I actually had to hit more comments, load more comments like 6 times to get to this comment too at the bottom. So yeah, I read the comments. I see their D-Dub. But that was another interesting thing, is that, of course, they are both coming out on the same day. Wolfenstein and Fire Emblem. I think a lot of people will probably buy Fire Emblem, but honestly, I do question Fire Emblem's selling power, I guess, compared to other Nintendo games. I think it'll sell better than Wolfenstein on the Switch. I don't think that's an issue, but I do question it because when that Direct was going on, I noticed a lot of people weren't really feeling Fire Emblem's section as much as I thought they would. A lot of people were like, can we move on from this? This is boring. I think there's obviously a core audience, and this, I think, will be the best-selling Fire Emblem game in the series, but I don't think it's going to be like a Mario Kart, obviously, a Breath of the Wild, a Splatoon 2, a Mario Party. I don't know if it'll sell as much as Mario Party, so that's going to be the interesting thing to see there, mostly sales of that. I think Wolfenstein will do fine on most, like, all platforms. I think it'll sell probably the best on, if I had to take a guess, PC and PlayStation 4, but to see it day and date on the Switch with panic button handling port is pretty cool, and of course, confidence in panic button, and who knows? Maybe we'll have a Switch Pro by then, so maybe it'll run better or higher resolution. JS Gaming says, are you going to talk Red Dead Redemption 2 coming to the Switch? That's a rumor that JS Gaming is referring to there. I question the ability for Red Dead Redemption 2 to make it to the Switch at this time, mostly because the game is massive. The thing came on 2 Blu-ray discs because it was so large if you buy it physically. It's like 100 gigabytes or something. I don't know how they fit that on the Switch right now. Like, the cartridge sizes have been the biggest issue that I've told you guys about for the longest time. There is a bigger game that has been rumored that's still kind of thrown around out there, and hey, if they announce it at E3, I'll point it out to you guys. But it's bigger and it might surprise people. Okay, so that's something to kind of think about there. It's one that I didn't think would fit on a cartridge. So hey, I guess in that sense, if they wanted to make it work and the cartridge sizes became available, maybe they would be able to get Red Dead Redemption 2 on there, but I think we're really pushing it. Like I said, 2 Blu-rays, when I saw that in the case, I was like, wow, this game is it's pretty massive. Finally, on Friday, we saw job listings go up showing that Monolith Soft was hiring for a large Zelda project that could provide more backing to a rumor mentioning a Breath of the Wild scale Zelda game for 2020. Borderlands 3 was also finally announced despite the PAX laptop trying to stop them. Genghis says, Spawn really brings back the magic I felt about gaming news from channels like G4 when I was a kid. It's interesting you bring that up, Genghis, there. I actually loved G4 back in the day. I watched it all the time, and there was some inspiration from that for this channel and what I'm doing here, but the biggest thing, obviously, is remembering that as a kid because it's gone now, but they had some amazing shows on there, and watching things like Attack of the Show and X-Play, it were really fond memories. They had like Cinematech, they had Icons, they had like, well, there was like an arena-style game. I think it might have been Judgment. It might have been Judgment Day. There was a lot of stuff there, and being able to work with like Victor Lucas, for example, on the Game of the Year games a few months ago was really cool because I would watch him on there. I'd watch, obviously, Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb. These are all people that I would watch, probably some of you, on G4. So to hear that is pretty awesome because that's something I was going for, was to kind of bring the gaming news stuff back and kind of relive some of that magic. Not to that production level yet, I guess, but still, to hear that's pretty cool. Loom Doom says, well, apparently Monolith has been working on a new IP that's an action RPG, so the Xenoblade team is probably working on that. Monolith has like 3 teams, so probably 1 team is helping or creating the next Zelda. I just can't wait till they lift the veil on everything. It's going to be exciting. It will be, because the fact that they're involved in helping to work on a Zelda game means that it's probably a pretty big Zelda game, and maybe in the size of a Breath of the Wild. That's exciting to think about. New Xenoblade game, and I think Xenoblade is really going to benefit from a stronger Switch, by the way. I mean, we look at Xenoblade, we look at the most recent Xenoblade, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then we had Torn of the Golden Country, but definitely 2 could use a bit of a boost there in terms of power for resolution and everything. So that's exciting because that game's going to look really good on a potentially more powerful Switch. It's pretty cool. But I look forward to their next project outside of Zelda even, because they're very good at making games. And then the other thought is, are they bringing something like Xenoblade Chronicles X, or would a port company handle that? A lot of questions here, seriously, and it's exciting to hear about them doing something with Zelda, because that means that we potentially have something really cool to look forward to kind of anchor the holiday of 2020. We're getting a lot of Zelda games, and that's a good thing. Then, guys, that's going to do it here for the Saturday show. If you enjoyed this video, make sure the like button really helps out. If not, hit the dislike and leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Sega Mini that was just announced last night. Are you picking it up because At Games is not involved now? It sounds like it's just Sega now, so hopefully it's good. The emulation's hopefully good, and we'll check it out here. If you're kind of on the fence, you can wait for that, and we'll tear it down and see what kind of quality and chips and everything they're using as well. Should be really fun. And then also, what about the Zelda project here and everything else we talked about. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you later on tonight for the Spawncast, 9 p.m. Eastern Time.